Hello, my name is Sunil Ibrahim, and this is my code presentation for the Pascal for the first project, the Pascal's Triangle program. So my first version of the program uses both functions and procedures. So this part of the program uses the binomial coefficient to calculate the number at a given position. So for example, at position k equals 0 or k equals n, that those are at the edges of the Pascal's triangle, so those will always be 1. For any other case, for example, it will be a sum of the n minus 1 k minus 1 position and the n minus 1 kth position. So for example, if you want to know the answer for the coefficient in 4 2, the answer will be given by the number in 3 1 and plus the number at 3 2. So using this formula, it recursively calculates the number for each position of the Pascal's triangle. So this is the first part of the print procedure. So the print procedure, it ensures spacing. It ensures spacing by printing out this spaces in the procedure. So the first part of the nested loop ensures there's spacing for the first row, and then the inner loop makes sure there's spacing for the entire prints the spaces recursively. It prints the spaces in a loop. So the DBMS output prints out just a single space character. So the outer loop is the inner loop prints the spaces horizontally. So this is a continuation of the for loop. We are still inside the outer for loop. The first part put the spaces. Now this part is printing out the binomial coefficient for the location I and j. So for location I and j, it uses the binomial function to calculate the output, and then it prints out the returned output, and then DBMS new line goes to a new line. And so this is the final part. This is a procedure call. You just put the number of rows you need in your Pascal's triangle, and that calls that creates a function with those number of rows. So this is my function in SQL Developer. So this is the binomial coefficient function over here, and so I have this with Pascal's triangle for 6. So when I run the script, it creates 6 rows. So this is my second version of my function. This only uses functions. So the first part uses the same recursive binomial coefficient function, and so the second part of the function, it uses spaces. So it takes in number of num spaces and prints out the number of spaces. So for example, if you have 5 spaces, then it will print a space, and then it will call build spaces for that number of spaces minus 1. So if you have 5 for num spaces, it will print out a space. and call build spaces for 5 minus 1. And if num space is greater than equal to 0 or less than or equal to 0, it will just return without any output. So this is the build row function, and over here, if a column, the base case is the column exceeds the row, that means it's not a triangle anymore, so it will stop being a triangle, so it will just return. Or else it calls a binomial coefficient for the row and column, and or it calls build row for that, and then it calls a build row for that row or column plus 1. Yes, so it calls the build row function. So this will print this. So the binomial coefficient over here will print the row and column, then it will put a space, and then it will call build row for the next to find the next value. And this is a recursive function to print the entire triangle row by row. So if the current row is less than total rows, meaning it hasn't exceeded vertically, it returns build spaces and build spaces, so it prints all of the leading spaces. Then build row, so which builds out the current row, and then a new line character. And then it calls print triangle to print the next row for the rest of the triangle. And the base case is in else return without any output. And so this is the final print statement with for 6 rows. So I have that over here. So when I run the output, this is the output I get. This is Sunil Abraham. This was my presentation for the Pascal's triangle code. And thank you.